What if the very first thing you do every morning is slowly destroying your metabolism, aging your cells from the inside out, and making it nearly impossible to burn fat, and you don't even know it? Most people wake up, stumble into the kitchen, and reach for the same foods they've been eating for decades. Toast, cereal, maybe a banana. They feel virtuous, they feel healthy. But here's the terrifying truth that most doctors will never tell you in a 10-minute appointment: your breakfast, the meal you've been told is the most important of the day, might be the single biggest reason you're holding on to stubborn fat, feeling exhausted by noon, and watching your body age faster than it should. And the worst part, the foods doing the most damage are the ones marketed to you as healthy. But this isn't a video about what to stop eating. This is about three extraordinary foods. Foods that exist in ordinary grocery stores, foods that cost almost nothing, that when eaten before or during breakfast begin to trigger something remarkable inside your body, something that scientists are only now beginning to fully understand. And one of them, the third one, is so counterintuitive, so unexpected, that most people laugh when they first hear it. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn could genuinely change the way you age. Before we go any further, pause for just 1 second and ask yourself this honestly. When was the last time you woke up and felt truly energized? Not the kind of energy that comes from caffeine, the real kind. The kind where your mind is sharp, your body feels light, and you're actually excited to move. If you're struggling to remember that feeling, you're not alone. Millions of people are walking around in bodies that are silently inflamed, metabolically sluggish, and biologically older than their actual age. And it doesn't have to be that way, because the science of what you eat in the morning, specifically in that critical window before your metabolism fully switches on, is far more powerful than anyone has told you. Let's start with the foundation of what's actually happening inside your body while you sleep, because this is the piece almost everyone is missing. While you're unconscious, your body isn't resting in the way you think it is. It's working. It's repairing damaged cells, it's clearing out metabolic waste, it's regulating hormones. And by the time you open your eyes in the morning, your body is in a uniquely vulnerable and uniquely receptive state. Your insulin levels are at their lowest. Your cortisol is beginning to rise naturally to wake you up. Your gut microbiome is waiting, literally waiting, for its first signal of the day. And whatever you give it first sets the biological tone for everything that follows. This is why breakfast isn't just about calories, it's about cellular communication. It's about what signal you're sending to your body at its most impressionable moment. Now here's where it gets deeply interesting, and where most people make the catastrophic mistake. When you eat something high in refined carbohydrates or added sugar first thing in the morning, and yes, that includes most granolas, fruit juices, flavored yogurts, and even some oatmeals, your insulin spikes rapidly. That spike tells your body one very clear thing: store energy, don't burn it. Your fat-burning mechanisms, which we're just beginning to activate after your overnight fast, get switched off almost immediately. And here's the insidious part: that insulin spike doesn't just affect the next hour. Research shows it can affect your metabolic response for the rest of the day. One bad breakfast can create a cascade of hormonal events that keeps you hungry, keeps you tired, and keeps your body locked in fat storage mode until you go to sleep and start the whole cycle over again tomorrow. But here's what nobody talks about. And this is the cliffhanger I need you to hold on to, because we're going to come back to this in just a moment. There is one specific biological process that happens in your body during the early morning hours that, if you know how to trigger it correctly with food, can actually begin reversing damage at the cellular level. Scientists call it autophagy, and what you eat or don't eat in the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking determines whether that process continues working for you or shuts down completely. The third food on this list is the key to keeping it going. But first, let's talk about foods 1 and 2, because without understanding them, the third one won't make nearly as much sense. The first food is one that has been unfairly demonized for decades and is only now being rehabilitated by serious nutritional science. It's the humble and extraordinary egg. Not egg whites, not egg substitutes, whole eggs with the yolk intact. For years, people were told to fear the yolk because of cholesterol. They were told it would clog their arteries and damage their heart. And as a result, an entire generation of health-conscious people threw away the most nutritionally dense part of the egg and ate flavorless whites while feeling proud of themselves. But the science has shifted dramatically. What researchers now understand is that the cholesterol in egg yolks does not behave the way we were told it did. For most people, dietary cholesterol has very little impact on blood cholesterol levels. What matters far more is inflammation, insulin resistance, and the quality of fats in the diet. And egg yolks, it turns out, are one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory pro-metabolic foods on the planet. Here's what a single egg yolk actually contains. It has choline, a nutrient that is critically important for brain function, liver health, and fat metabolism, and one that nearly 70% of people are chronically deficient in. Choline is required for your liver to properly process and transport fat. Without enough of it, fat literally accumulates in the liver, which impairs metabolism and accelerates aging. The yolk also contains lutein and zeaxanthin, two powerful antioxidants that protect against cellular aging, particularly in the eyes and brain. It has vitamin D, which regulates hundreds of biological processes, including immune function, mood, and metabolic rate. It has B vitamins that are essential for energy production at the cellular level. And it has healthy fats, including DHA, a form of omega-3 that your brain is literally made of, that keep your cell membranes flexible, fluid, and young. When you eat whole eggs in the morning, something specific happens. The combination of protein, fat, and micronutrients creates what researchers call satiety signaling, a cascade of hormones, including GLP-1 and PYY, that tell your brain you are full and satisfied. This is profoundly different from what happens when you eat a carbohydrate-heavy breakfast. With carbs, you get a brief energy surge, followed by a crash that leaves you hungry again within 90 minutes. With eggs, studies consistently show that people consume significantly fewer calories throughout the entire day, not because they're restraining themselves, but because their body genuinely doesn't want more food. This is fat burning through hormonal balance, not willpower. And willpower, as we all know, is an exhaustible resource. Biology, when you work with it, is not. There's something else happening with eggs that most people never hear about. The protein in eggs, specifically a protein called albumin, has an exceptionally high bioavailability rating, meaning your body can absorb and use it more efficiently than almost any other protein source. Protein requires significantly more energy to digest than carbohydrates or fat, a phenomenon known as the thermic effect of food. So when you eat eggs in the morning, your body is literally burning more calories just processing the meal. This is passive fat burning. This is your metabolism being given a gentle push in exactly the right direction before you've done a single thing differently in your day. Now, the second food. This one might surprise you in a different way, not because it's controversial, but because most people know it's healthy and still aren't eating it in the morning. And the reason they're not eating it in the morning is that nobody has explained to them why the timing matters so much. The food is wild blueberries. Not regular blueberries, though those are excellent too, but specifically wild blueberries, which are smaller, darker, and contain significantly higher concentrations of the compounds we're about to discuss. And if you can't find wild ones, regular blueberries eaten in the morning still deliver remarkable benefits. Here's what's happening inside a blueberry that makes it so extraordinary. Blueberries are among the richest sources of a class of compounds called anthocyanins, the pigments that give them their deep blue-purple color. But anthocyanins are far more than just pigments. They are, at the molecular level, some of the most powerful anti-aging compounds found in any food on Earth. They work by neutralizing free radicals, unstable molecules that damage your DNA, age your cells, and drive chronic inflammation. But they go further than that. Research from some of the world's most prestigious universities has shown that the anthocyanins in blueberries can actually activate a gene pathway called NRF2, which is essentially your body's master switch for antioxidant production. When NRF2 is activated, your body begins making its own internal antioxidants, compounds like glutathione, at a higher rate. You're not just getting antioxidants from the food. You're triggering your own body to produce more of them. This is next-level nutrition. But why the morning specifically? Because of what anthocyanins do to your insulin sensitivity. When you consume blueberries before or during your first meal of the day, the compounds in them, particularly the pterostilbene and resveratrol-like molecules, begin to sensitize your cells to insulin. Remember that insulin spike we talked about earlier, the one that shuts down fat burning? Blueberries help blunt that spike. They help your cells respond to insulin more efficiently, which means you need less of it to move glucose out of your bloodstream. And when your insulin levels stay lower, your fat-burning hormones, and particularly a hormone called glucagon, stay elevated. Glucagon is essentially the biological opposite of insulin. Where insulin says store fat, glucagon says burn fat. And blueberries in the morning help tip that balance in your favor in a way that reverberates throughout your entire day. There's also something deeply significant about what blueberries do to your gut microbiome, and this is where the aging connection becomes almost eerie in its implications. Your gut contains trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses, that collectively influence almost every system in your body, from your immune system to your brain chemistry to your metabolic rate. As we age, the diversity of our gut microbiome tends to decline, and this decline is associated with increased inflammation, slowed metabolism, cognitive decline, and accelerated aging. Blueberries are one of the few foods that have been shown in human clinical trials to measurably increase gut microbiome diversity. They feed specific bacterial strains, I shown particularly Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus species, that produce short-chain fatty acids, which in turn reduce intestinal inflammation, improve nutrient absorption, and support the integrity of your gut lining. A healthy gut lining means fewer inflammatory compounds leaking into your bloodstream, and less systemic inflammation means slower aging at the cellular level. This is biology doing exactly what it was designed to do when you give it what it needs. Now, here's where we circle back to that cliffhanger: autophagy. The word comes from the Greek meaning self-eating, which sounds alarming, but is actually one of the most beautiful and essential processes your body performs. Autophagy is essentially your cellular cleanup system. When it's activated, your cells begin identifying and breaking down their own damaged components: misfolded proteins, dysfunctional organelles, cellular debris that accumulates over time and contributes to aging and disease. Researchers have linked impaired autophagy to Alzheimer's disease, cancer, metabolic disorders, accelerated aging, and a host of other conditions. And Nobel Prize-winning research has confirmed that when autophagy is functioning optimally, cells live longer, healthier, more functional lives. The question is, what controls autophagy? And the answer in large part is food. Specifically, the presence or absence of certain nutrients and compounds in your diet, and crucially, the timing of when you consume them. Here's the critical piece. Autophagy is most active during periods of low insulin and low nutrient availability, exactly the state your body is in during sleep and in the early morning hours. Your overnight fast has created the perfect biological environment for autophagy to do its work. But the moment you eat most conventional breakfast foods, anything high in sugar, refined carbs, or even large amounts of protein, insulin spikes and autophagy shuts down. The cleanup crew gets sent home before they finish the job. But what if there was a food that you could consume in the morning that would not shut down autophagy and might actually enhance it? What if there was something so specific in its molecular action that it could signal your body to keep cleaning, keep repairing, keep reversing damage even while you're eating? There is, and this is the third food: coffee. But not the coffee you're probably drinking, and not in the way you're probably drinking it. Before you roll your eyes, stay with me, because the science here is genuinely astonishing, and it goes far, far deeper than caffeine. Black coffee, consumed without milk, without sugar, without any caloric additions, is one of the most scientifically validated autophagy-promoting substances known to researchers. Multiple peer-reviewed studies have demonstrated that coffee, consumed in its pure form, actually extends the autophagic process rather than interrupting it. The mechanism involves a class of compounds in coffee called chlorogenic acids, along with the caffeine itself, which activate a cellular energy sensor called AMPK, adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. When AMPK is activated, it signals your cells that energy is scarce and that they need to be efficient. And one of the primary responses to that signal is enhanced autophagy. Your cells go into high-efficiency cleanup mode. But it doesn't stop there. Coffee also inhibits a protein complex called mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin, which, when overstimulated, is one of the primary drivers of accelerated cellular aging. mTOR is not inherently bad. You need it for muscle growth and cellular repair. But in our modern world, with our modern diets, mTOR is almost universally overstimulated, meaning our cells are constantly getting the signal to grow and multiply rather than to clean and repair. Coffee, particularly consumed in the morning before food, helps recalibrate that balance. It keeps the system in repair mode a little longer. And when your cellular repair systems run longer and more efficiently, the downstream effects on fat metabolism, energy production, and biological aging are profound. Now here's where the psychology of this gets really interesting, and where I want you to think carefully about your own habits. Most people who drink coffee in the morning automatically add something to it: cream, milk, a sweetener, a flavored syrup. And every single one of those additions, even seemingly innocent ones like a splash of oat milk, triggers an insulin response and shuts down the very process the coffee was supporting. This is not about being rigid or extreme, but it is about understanding that biology doesn't negotiate. The compounds in black coffee work in a specific biological context: low insulin, low nutrient load, and when you change that context, you change the outcome. Even 2 tablespoons of whole milk contain enough lactose and protein to begin dampening the autophagic response. This doesn't mean you can never have milk in your coffee. It means that if you drink your coffee black in the morning, even just for the first hour after waking, you may be giving your cells a window of repair time that compounds dramatically over weeks, months, and years. Let's zoom out now and talk about what this all means in the context of real life, because this is where most health information fails people. It sounds great in theory, but you wake up at 6 in the morning, you have children to get to school, you have a meeting at 8, you're exhausted, you're stressed, and the idea of carefully curating a biologically optimized breakfast feels like another thing on an already impossible list. So let's make this simple. Let's make this real. Imagine waking up tomorrow and doing just 3 things differently. You drink your coffee black, or if you don't drink coffee, a plain green tea, which contains EGCG, a compound with similar autophagic benefits. You do this for 30 to 45 minutes before you eat anything. Then when you're ready to eat, you scramble 2 whole eggs with the yolk in a little olive oil or butter. While they cook, you put a handful of blueberries, wild if you can find them, in a bowl. That's it. That's your biologically optimized breakfast. It takes 12 minutes. It costs less than $2. And what it's doing inside your body during those next several hours is extraordinary. Your autophagy has been extended by the black coffee. Your insulin response is blunted and controlled by the egg protein and fat. Your antioxidant pathways are activated by the blueberry anthocyanins. Your gut microbiome is being nourished and diversified. Your satiety hormones are elevated, meaning you won't be desperately hungry by 10 a.m., and your cells, quietly, invisibly, without any effort on your conscious part, are doing the work of repair, renewal, and reversal that evolution designed them to do. This is not a diet. Diets are temporary, restrictive, and psychologically exhausting because they require you to fight against your biology using willpower. What we're talking about here is something fundamentally different. We're talking about alignment. We're talking about giving your body the signals it was designed to receive in the timing it was designed to receive them, using foods that have co-evolved with human biology over hundreds of thousands of years. Eggs are not a trend. Berries are not a fad. Coffee has been consumed by human beings for centuries, and the populations with the highest longevity in the world, people in the blue zones, the regions on Earth with the highest concentrations of people living past 100, consistently consume diets rich in exactly these kinds of foods: whole, minimally processed, nutrient-dense, and timed thoughtfully. And here's what I want you to really sit with, because this is the part that tends to hit people hardest when they truly let it land. Every single morning, you have a choice. Not a dramatic, life-altering, overwhelming choice, but a quiet, simple, extraordinarily powerful one. The choice of what to put in your body first. And that choice sends a signal, a molecular signal, a hormonal signal, a genetic signal that either tells your body keep declining or start repairing. You've been making that choice every day of your life, probably without knowing the full weight of it. And now you know. You can't unknow it. And the beautiful, genuinely hopeful thing, the thing that separates this from all the doom and gloom health content that leaves you feeling helpless and overwhelmed, is that you don't need a prescription. You don't need an expensive supplement. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You need eggs. You need blueberries. And you need to drink your coffee black for 45 minutes before you eat. The cumulative effect of small, consistent, biologically intelligent choices is staggering when you look at it over time. Studies on populations that adopt these kinds of morning practices, not crash diets, not extreme fasting, just consistent, nutrient-aligned breakfasts, show measurable improvements in metabolic markers within as little as 2 weeks. C-reactive protein, a marker of systemic inflammation, begins to decline. Fasting glucose levels improve. Body composition shifts, not dramatically overnight, but steadily and sustainably in the direction of less fat and more lean tissue. Cognitive function scores improve. People report better energy, better mood, better sleep. And subjectively, anecdotally, across thousands of people who have made these shifts, what they consistently describe is a feeling of reclaiming something, a sense of control, a sense of vitality that they thought was just the inevitable casualty of getting older. It isn't inevitable, that's the message. That's the thing worth fighting to understand and believe and act on. Aging is real, but the rate at which your cells age, biological age versus chronological age, is profoundly influenced by lifestyle, and breakfast is one of the most powerful leverage points in that equation, because it happens every single day, because it sets the hormonal and metabolic tone for everything that follows, because in that quiet morning window, your body is uniquely receptive to the signals you send it, and because the science, decades of it from some of the most rigorous institutions in the world, is converging on the same conclusion that food is information, that timing matters, and that 3 simple, accessible, affordable foods consumed strategically in the morning can begin to change the trajectory of how your body ages. So I want to leave you with a question, and I genuinely want you to answer it in the comments below, because your answer might help someone else who reads it, and because thinking about it will make what you've just learned more real and more actionable for you. The question is this: what does your typical breakfast look like right now? But after everything you've just heard, what's the one thing you're going to change tomorrow morning? Not next week, not after you've done more research. Tomorrow, because the biology doesn't wait, and neither should you.